M and B are set in stone, and to Congress R is known. L sits, and left beyond his shoulder is the fair folks' treasure holder. The end of 10 by 13 is your clue, fence and picture central too. For finding jewel cask, seek the sounds of rumble, thrush, and music hush.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Secret Series. Rick here with Blind Rick Productions. You may be asking yourself, what is The Secret? Well, The Secret is a book published in 1982 by Byron Preiss. Within this book are 12 images and 12 verses. The first task is determining which verse connects to which image. Once that has been achieved, you can then start your hunt. Everything you need to find the treasure, besides the shovel, are contained within the images and verses. There are simple rules that go along with this treasure hunt. They will be buried at a depth of no more than 3 to 3.5 feet. They will not be buried anywhere dangerous, such as a highway embankment, any contaminated area, or any active railroad tracks. They also cannot be found in any cemetery, any public or private flower bed, or any property owned by a person connected to the book. What are we looking for exactly? Well, the treasure you will find will be a hand-painted treasure cask containing a hand-painted key. Each one is unique. Once retrieved, sending the key to the publisher rewards you with a precious gem. Each gem is displayed in the image. 2 of these casks have been found as of this time. One in Chicago in 1983, with the treasure being an emerald. The other in 2004 in Cleveland, with that being an aquamarine. Although there have been many efforts to unearth the other cask, there has been no luck so far. Byron Preiss passed away in 2005. Soon after, his publishing company and all his assets were acquired by J. Boylston and Company. Belief is all of the remaining jewels were among those assets. It is unknown currently if they will continue to honor the original hunt, but we can hope. But in my opinion, even if they aren't honoring the hunt, the thrill and joy of finding a one-of-a-kind treasure cask containing a one-of-a-kind key would be treasure enough for me. So, where do we look? And how do we know where to look? Well, we will use the previously solved images as a guide. To begin the series, we will be looking at the Chicago image, followed by the Chicago verse. Examining the way the Chicago and Cleveland treasures were deciphered and found is our best tool in determining where the remaining casks may be found. So first, let us take a look at the Chicago image as a whole. In this image, you see what looks like a troll with a castle perched on his head. Look over the image. Is there anything that pops out to you? How about now? Here is our first clue to find the rest of the treasures. On the left of the image, by the troll's head, and just below the castle, you'll see something outlined. Upon closer look, it seems to resemble the state of Illinois. That is, after we flip it. Now, this isn't a perfect representation of the state, but you can see the similarities. Does this mean images of the states are hidden in other images? I would like to think yes. Each image contains, hidden somewhere in it, the state in which you will look for the treasure. With that, we now know to look in Illinois. But, is there a hint towards a city that we're looking into? The first thing I noticed right off the bat was the color of the image. That blue. The blue in the image is very reminiscent of the blue contained in the flag of Chicago. That gives us our first arrow towards Chicago. We have a possible point. So we turn our attentions back to the original image. With the city and state in mind, we look for anything in that image that might point us to a landmark or location that can solidify the location. Keep in mind, the verses are the key. They tell you exactly where to look. While looking over the image, 7 things stand out to me. The first and most obvious is the gem hanging from the troll's hat, the emerald. For the sake of the video, we will look at 3 of the standout features. You tell me in the comments below what stood out to you other than the 3 things I am pointing out. First, I would like to remind everyone that a familiarity with the city in question will help drastically when determining the treasure location. With that said, let's take a look at our first example. The ferry on the right side of the image. The belief is that this is reminiscent of part of a sculpture at the Art Institute of Chicago called the Fountain of the Great Lakes. This sculpture contains 5 women, each representing one of the 5 Great Lakes. Water moves between the women as it would the Great Lakes. The image of the sculpture I am showing you represents Lake Michigan, another arrow pointing towards Chicago. The reminiscence of the ferry on the left and the sculpture in Chicago isn't exact. Everything is either exaggerated or changed a little bit, but you can recognize features. Which will bring me to my next point. The windmill. There are 2 hints hidden inside this windmill. We're going to talk about one and see if you can figure out the other one. It stands out to me is the top of the windmill is a completely different color than every other blue in the picture. It's a lighter blue, a lot closer to the Chicago color. The gentleman that discovered the Chicago cask also noticed the same thing. They also recognized the shape, that being they were Chicago natives. Once they removed the windmill, they saw that it was a perfect representation of the Chicago water tower. If you're a Chicago native, you can catch that right off the bat. Do you see the second hint in the windmill? If you do see the second hint in the windmill, let me know in the comments down below. The last example we're going to look at today is something that I believe is in every single image. I'm not positive of this, but I believe it. And that is the exact location of where to dig for the treasure. Now, don't get me wrong, you have a bunch of clues to figure out before you get to this point, before you figure out what it's representing. But if you know what you're looking for and you know where you're looking, I believe each image shows you where to dig. We're going to use the Chicago image as an example. Looking at the castle, on the largest wall of the castle, you will notice a carving on that wall. There's an arch with 3 pillars, one larger than the other 2. Because we do know where the Chicago cask was buried and found, we are able to connect it. Now, I'm showing you that on the screen. Next, I'm going to show you exactly where the Chicago cask was unearthed. So, looking at the 2 of them side by side, that is the exact location where the cask was found. Look how perfectly they go together. If that's not X marks the spot, I don't know what is. As we put all these hints together and all these clues, it helps us determine what city we're going to look for them. Next, we'll have to go over the verses. Next week, we'll be going over the verse for Chicago and doing a kind of walkthrough of how they figured out where to find the cask. This is the only time we're going to do a 2-week segment on one of these images. From here on out, we will be doing one image, one verse every week, trying to figure out what it will be. So next week, we'll be talking about the verse for Chicago. From there on out, we're going to randomly pick one of these images and try to figure it out. I will leave that up to everybody else. What I'm going to do is, in the comments below, go pick a number between 1 and 10. Each number is going to represent one of the remaining images. Once we get the vote on how many numbers we're going to do, the more of the same number we do, the more we'll pick it. You don't know what one it's going to be until we look at it. Kind of a game, get everybody involved. Again, let's find this treasure. Even if they aren't sending the gems out to people anymore, having a one-of-a-kind treasure cask with a one-of-a-kind key, both handmade, never owned by any person ever, to me, that's kind of priceless. By doing this, we're giving ourselves a better understanding of how the images and verses will work together. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in, saying hi, watching the video. If you have any thoughts, any comments, please leave them down below. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, and as always, please, please, please hit that notification bell so you know when we post new content. And as always, everybody, stay creepy.